everyone, I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how Nestor Cortes could be a massive weapon for the Bronx Bombers in this upcoming World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. But before we get into that and talk about how Nestor Cortes profiles against LA, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn the notification bell, and check out our various videos we've got thrown up over the past weeks or so, covering the postseason, talking about this World Series matchup. We've got some highlights. If you guys haven't seen the full Juan Soto at bat, that's on our channel. All of the ALCS highlights, that's also on our channel. There's a ton of content being pumped out. And if you guys want even more content, you guys check out our Instagram, our TikTok, our Twitter, our Facebook page, and of course, our YouTube page, all under the handle at Fireside Yankees, except for Instagram, where it's all at fireside.yankees. All of the links for our stuff are in the links in the description, and our Discord server will also be in the description, where you guys can talk about the Yankees, Knicks, Giants, all your favorite New York sports teams. There's a ton to talk about as the Knicks kick off tonight, or they tip off tonight against the Boston Celtics, and the Giants are in the middle of just another miserable year. But let's focus on the positives here. Yankees in the World Series, Knicks are back. The New York Liberty just won their first WNBA title. Hockey is back. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in New York. But with that being said, all that out of the way, all the promos, everything, let's get into today's video. And let's first talk about what Nestor Cortes accomplished this season. Now, he had a pretty strong year, in my opinion. He led the Yankees in WAR. He had a career high in innings pitched at 174. He had a 3.77 ERA. He was just a really encouraging pitcher this year. He got better, I thought, as the season went on, as he started to incorporate some new strategies on the mound. The biggest development he had was he was able to start implementing a changeup more often. And I felt that a changeup was always the thing that Cortes had been missing in his repertoire. Something that can move down and away to right-handed batters and keep them off of their cutter and the four-seamer. It kept them honest. Over his last 7 outings, he threw his changeup 16.6% of the time instead of roughly 8% of the time as he threw it beforehand. And he held batters to a 1.58 ERA, an 18.5% strikeout to walk percentage, a 0.68 home runs per 9. His stuff plus jumped to 106, which is firmly above average. He had a barrel rate against of 4.9%. And the two metrics I want to really emphasize here are home runs per 9 and barrel rate. The reason I want to emphasize those two metrics is because those display that Nestor Cortes was able to limit damage contact more than before. Cortes had a really bad issue allowing home runs and allowing loud contact, and I think this changeup has given batters something else that they have to keep their eyes on, and honestly, it's made his cutter and his fastball better. I just think he's a little more comfortable mixing everything in. He's harder to pick up. He's more deceptive. There are just things that Cortes can do now and movement profiles that Cortes has in his arsenal now they just didn't have before. He still has his sweeper. He still has the cutter fastball combination. There's still plus pitches for him. But this changeup, it just adds another wrinkle to his movement profile. It finally gives him something that moves away from right-handed batters. Over this stretch, righties have only slugged 357 against Nestor with a 5.4% barrel rate, a 24% whiff rate, and an ex-Wobicon of 356. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to break down what ex-Wobicon is. It's a little bit of it's more complex sounding than it actually is. Ex-Wobicon, which you can find on Baseball Savant, is short for expected weighted on base average on contact. That just is a fancy way of saying how much damage you do on contact. The league average is around 365 to 370, so that means batters did damage against Nestor Cortes less often than usual, and this is specifically right-handed batters. These are hitters who have historically had a platoon advantage over Cortes throughout the course of his career. They've bedeviled him over the last 2 years, and he finally has a weapon in that changeup to neutralize them, get whiffs, make the fastball, the cutter look a lot less, or make you a little less prepared to see the fastball and the cutter. Plays up the sweeper. It just makes his arsenal better. And now that he's limiting damage contact, and the league average barrel rate is around 7%, so 5.4% is above average. The whiff rate is above average. If you're whiffing 24% of batters faced, you are, getting more whiffs than often. And obviously, a 357 slugging percentage is well below the major league average as well. So he's doing a much better job against righties. They've killed them all year. He finally has that pitch that he can neutralize them with. I think personally, too, while the Dodgers do hit lefties well, Cortes might be the rare example of a lefty who's funky enough to throw the Dodgers off their game. Nestor Cortez's fastball averages 19.2 inches of vertical carry, vertical ride, induced vertical break, whatever you want to call it. It's basically vertical movement. How much life you have on your fastball. Is it going to drop as much crossing the plate as other fastballs will? And Nestor's is 19.2. That's an elite mark. It's a riding fastball. It generates a lot of movement up in the zone. From a lower slot, that's even more deceptive. And if we look at what I would consider the upper echelon of riding fastballs, so pitches with at least 18 inches of induced vertical break from the left-handed side specifically, the Dodgers have only had a 316 weighted on base average, which is below the major league average, a 302 expected weighted on base average, so that means they're overperforming their numbers against lefties, and those numbers are still below average. They have a 26.8% strikeout rate against those pitches and a -8 batter run value. So they are a below average offense against riding fastballs from left-handed batters. That is a key pitch for Nestor Cortez. It sets up the changeup, it sets up the cutter, it sets up the sweeper. Some key hitters who really struggle against those kinds of fastballs include Mookie Betts, who had a 287 WOBA and a -1 run value. Shohei Ohtani, who did have a 362 WOBA, which is pretty high, but a 0 run value and a 37.5% whiff rate, so you could get him to swing and miss on those pitches. Teoscar Hernandez, who kills lefties, had a 228 WOBA, a -2 run value, and a 22.2% whiff rate. Freddie Freeman did excellent against four-seamers, though, of this profile, a 536 WOBA. Max Muncy, 304 WOBA, -1 run value, and a 41.7% whiff rate. And then Tommy Edman, who has killed lefties and was the NLCS MVP, had an 830 WOBA and a +2 run value. So Muncy, Hernandez, Ohtani, Betts, you can try to challenge them with those upstairs riding fastballs, and you'll usually get some good outcomes. This is their regular and postseason numbers, so it is including as large of a sample size as I can from this past season. And then when you start breaking down the secondaries that Cortez has, there are different hitters who perform not great against those secondaries. Left-handed changeups bedevil Mookie Betts, who had a 147 WOBA and a 30.9% whiff rate, resulting in a -3 run value. Will Smith, their starting catcher, had a 290 WOBA, a -2 run value, and a 27.4% whiff rate. And Chris Taylor, who they'll sometimes frequent against left-handed pitchers, had a 161 WOBA, a -1 run value, and a 46.4% whiff rate. To other hitters on the Dodgers, you may opt for the cutter. Remember Freddie Freeman and his excellent numbers against four-seamers? They're not so great against left-handed cutters. He has a 175 WOBA, a -1 run value, and a 20% whiff rate against those pitches. Cutters don't pick up a ton of whiffs, but the fact that he doesn't get a lot of damage contact against cutters is super important. And then Tommy Edman, who is a lefty killer, had a 220 WOBA and a -1 run value this year against cutters from left-handers. So maybe that's the pitch to kind of jam him inside and get him to roll over on something. For sweepers, which Nestor Cortez features a sweeper, and it gets some swings and misses. Shohei Ohtani is a guy you can get out with that sweeper at a 102 WOBA and a -2 run value with a 35.3% whiff rate. If you get him down and away with the sweeper, you can get some big outs. Max Muncy, 50% whiff rate, a 266 WOBA. Teoscar Hernandez, this is a surprising one. I would expect him to do well against sweepers from left-handed pitchers. He has a 115 WOBA and a 51% whiff rate against those pitches. And then Mookie Betts, a 0.98 WOBA and a -1 run value. So if you're Nestor Cortez, sweepers to these guys are going to help you, right? So if you can establish the fastball and you can start mixing in your secondaries kind of based on the swing paths of some of these guys. For Freeman, it makes sense. He's very up-down with his swing. His swing is very vertical. It's kind of like Francisco Lindor's swing. So if you have something that's moving laterally, it's going to really throw off his bat path. It's going to miss off his bat path. Shohei Ohtani is the same way, so it makes sense that, something like a sweeper with a lot of lateral movement can throw him off. Hernandez, I'm a little bit surprised by. I kind of expected him to be somebody who mashed every pitch from lefties, and he does mash lefties, but there are pitches you can get him out with, which is good for Nestor. And then Betts, Betts is another guy where, it's a very vertical bat path, and you can, maybe throw him off by playing with his swing laterally. As for what makes Nestor Cortez himself a great reliever candidate, he has a 2.46 ERA first time through as a starting pitcher in his career with a 22.6% strikeout to walk rate. And I think that his numbers first time through are a big indication of the fact that he is really, really good when batters don't see him more often. And as a reliever, which is the role he'll serve, he is not built up to start most likely. I think he'd really help the Yankees. Their only big-time lefty is Tim Hill, and he's a lot different from Tim Hill. I know that you consider Tim Hill and Nestor Cortes just kind of soft-tossing lefties, but their profiles are dramatically different. Tim Hill is sinker, fastball, up in the zone, low slot release, kind of get ground balls, not a lot of strikeouts. Nestor Cortes is, yes, a low riding fastball, but his fastball gets a lot more vertical movement. He doesn't drop down nearly as much as Tim Hill does. He has a cutter, Hill doesn't. He has a sweeping slider, Hill has a sharper slider, and Hill doesn't have a changeup, while Nestor does. So very different pitchers, very different looks, very different body types. They're just very different pitchers. So if you just want to look at it from a velocity standpoint, even Hill throws a good bit slower than Nestor. Nestor is about 92, 93. Hill is about 88 to 89 to maybe 90. So, it's also a different velocity read as well. Having a different lefty in the mix and having another guy you can go to is really important. Having someone who can go maybe 2, maybe 3 innings is also super important. I just personally think that while Nestor Cortes and the Los Angeles Dodgers would be a bad fit on or bad matchup on paper, right? Like Nestor Cortes is left-handed. The Dodgers are really good against left-handed pitching. We talked about that in yesterday's preview. I think the individual matchups that Cortes has, the fastball, the changeup, the sweeper, the cutter, presents the kinds of weapons that the Dodgers really struggle against. When you look at their numbers against left-handed sweepers as well, their WOBA is under 300 and their whiff rate is over 25%. So if you're going to look at a way to beat the Dodgers, riding fastballs, sweeping sliders from left-handed pitchers might be a way to get an advantage here. And there are hitters, again, who have some poor numbers against those two pitches. And for the guys who don't have poor numbers against those pitches, like Freddie Freeman or Tommy Edman, you have the cutter that bridges between those two movement profiles and who they have really, and those are pitches that those two batters have really struggled with. Having something to neutralize Shohei Ohtani is super important because he's their Aaron Judge. He's their Juan Soto, whatever you want to call him. He is the guy that you don't plan on beating. You just hope he doesn't kill you. You just hope he doesn't end the series for you. You hope he just doesn't win the Dodgers the series. You want to limit him to solo home runs. You want to find ways to get him out with runners on base or just walk him strategically. This is a very good hitter. This is a very good lineup. I don't expect the Yankees to blank the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't expect the Yankees to dominate the Los Angeles Dodgers. I expect the Yankees, if they're going to win this series, to really have to fight for it. But there are ways to put yourself in advantage, and that's really what this video is about. And that's really what game planning and strategizing is all about. It's about giving yourself higher odds of having success. You cannot guarantee success. You cannot guarantee execution. Command is still important here. You can't just say it's a left-handed fastball, Mookie Betts won't hit it. It's a left-handed fastball, but if it's placed up in the zone, he won't hit it. If it's a sweeper to Ohtani, you can't leave it over the heart of the plate. He'll hit it. But if you throw it down and away, he'll swing over it. Muncy, same thing. Hernandez, right? You can't just throw a sweeper over the heart of the plate. You have to bury it down and in or try to backdoor it. Location is still important here. Those are, kind of the things that matter just as much as stuff or just individual pitch types or individual pitch splits. But I still think it's important to kind of give this information to you guys and tell you guys why I think Nestor could play a huge role in this bullpen. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How do you think the Yankees will use Nestor Cortes? How would you use Nestor Cortes? What are some pitchers that you think could have a little bit of a good matchup here? And again, just let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the World Series kind of as we get closer and closer to Game 1 on Friday night at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time in Los Angeles. Garrett Cole, potentially Yoshinobu Yamamoto. It should be him. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't. I don't think it's been announced yet, but Garrett Cole has been announced. So I'm just going to say it with confidence. It'll be Garrett Cole versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto. 4 wins and the Yankees can take home the 28th World Series title. We'll see if it happens. But then again, let me know again what you guys think in the comment section below. And like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Check us out on all of our various social media platforms. We've got an Instagram, a TikTok, a Twitter, a YouTube, a Facebook page, all of the @Fireside Yankees, except for Instagram, where it's @Fireside.Yankees. Again, thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you guys' support. We're doing a lot of numbers, and it's all because of you guys. So we really appreciate it again, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go, Yankees. Peace out.
Perfect.